serving America's great sports networks. You're watching Prime Network.
Earlier this week, in typical Texas fashion, they held a barbecue for the previous BPAA U.S. Open winners and presented last year's winner, Tish Johnson, with the coveted champion's jacket. But who will get the jacket this year? In the qualifying, Dede Davidson led the field by almost 300 pins. Will she win in a walk? 4 challengers say no. It's coming up next on Prime. The 1993 Bud Light LPBT Spring Tour stops for the final time of 1993 for the Bowling Proprietors Association of America's 1993 U.S. Open. Welcome to Garland, Texas, and Showplace Lanes. Hello, everyone. I'm Leandra Riley, and this is the 5th and final stop of the Spring Tour. And what an exciting tour it has been. And what a way to finish the Spring Tour with a major. We've already had the Queen's Tournament of '93, and now it's time for the U.S. Open. And let me bring in our own Leila Wagner and talk about the outstanding bowler of this week. And it would have to be #1 seed Dede Davidson.
Well, Dede Davidson didn't only knock down pins this week, Leandra. She crushed her opponents. She set an all-time tour record with 22 out of 24 wins. Dede Davidson has one thing working for her. As the top seed, she has won 2 of her 3 titles from that position, but the top seeds in the U.S. Open have only won 2 out of the last 13 times.
Oh, that's an unusual jinx. Now, here's a lady who is no stranger to winning the U.S. Open. That's Dana Miller-Mackie. She has won it twice, but no one's ever won it 3 times. She might be the first.
Both men or women, there has not been one to win it 3 times. Dana Miller-Mackie is in a prime position to do so. If history can repeat itself, we might as well crown this lady right now. Both of her titles have come from that #2 position.
Sandra Jo Shiery is the first right-hander I'm mentioning. We've just talked about 2 lefties. Tell us about Sandra Jo.
Well, Sandra Jo made a telecast for a U.S. Open 2 years ago. She qualified 3rd, but she lost to Anne Marie Duggan, who went on to win that event. Sandra Jo bowled extremely well, so it appears that she does not succumb to the pressure of bowling for a major.
All right, those 3 ladies will have to wait, because coming up, it's Stacy Rider against Anne Marie Duggan. Anne Marie Duggan's already won in 1993. Stacy Rider, well, she's looking for her first title. Stay with us. Bowling coming up next on Prime. Duggan and Stacy Rider. We are on lanes 43 and 44, and it is Stacy Rider of La Habra, California, that will bowl first. She is our smallest bowler, only standing 5 feet 1 inch, and I think that's a stretch.
An interesting note about these 2 opponents, they are doubles partners in the national doubles. Stacy Rider has 2 titles, both of which have come with Anne Marie in the doubles event, and they're very close friends. Opening up, she throws the ball right, does not get it back. She struggled during the practice time allowed the players. She really did not get a good ball reaction. I asked her where she played most of the week. She told me sometimes in and sometimes out.
And she picks it up. Her high game was 299, low game 151, so she has been all over the map this week. And now Anne Marie Duggan of Edmond, Oklahoma steps up. 8 career titles. She won twice in 1993, but both were on the winter tour. She is yet to win on the spring tour.
Well, she's made the last 2 telecasts for the U.S. Open. Winning in '91. Last year she tried to win again from that 5th seed, but she was stopped. She finished 3rd. She's trying to go all the way up the ladder again.
I like her socks. Look at those socks. You'll see it on the replay here. Whoa.
They match her collar. You can see the angle that Anne Marie's playing. She's crossing an awful lot of boards. That ball going all the way out to the 2 board, but does not make it back. She has left quite a few of the 2-4-10 split conversions in the morning rounds, especially yesterday morning.
Oh, got it. Beautiful. Nice job, Anne Marie.
She said that
was my first one. I read her lips.
This is just how you want to do it, hitting left of the 2-pin, sliding the 2-pin right into the 10-pin.
I hope your VCRs are running because that is textbook. That was beautiful. That's something you want to look at again and again.
Well, the back ends, about the last 10 feet of the lane, have really been hooking quite a bit, and it's going to take a while for the lane conditioner to carry down the lane and even it out. So we might see some very odd leaves here in the first match.
There she is.
Now, that ball did not go out to the first or second board. So that was an errant shot, basically, in her opening frame. Stacy Rider has been a touring player for 6 years, but she has not bowled here in the spring at all. She bowled the winter tour. She made the first 2 events. She made the top 24, and then she ran into a tendonitis problem. She said, I just was not competing well. I went home. I got a job. I'm working as a receptionist, and she's not competing. I don't know if she even plans to compete much in the fall.
Well, this might encourage her to carry on. Seems to be taking a long time to step back up. There she goes.
Switching balls to shoot at her 10-pin.
Uh-oh.
Not a good shot by Stacy Rider. She completely pulled that ball. She gets a little bit nervous, and also from not competing on the tour, do not have that competitive edge. She basically pulls this ball inside her target. The ball does not go into a slide. Looked close, but it doesn't count in bowling.
So that sets her back 12 pins.
She has made 11 television career appearances. Takes Stacy a little time to get going, though, Leandra. If you recall last night in the position round, she was bowling for that third. Well, actually, they were locked in spots. First was locked in, second and third and fourth, but she was bowling against Sandra Jo Shiery. She opened in her first 2 frames, proceeded to throw 10 more strikes and shoot 278. So she's hoping that maybe she could do the same thing right here. If she were to go all the way the ball from this point in time, she could still shoot 247. So,
and she's certainly capable of doing that.
That's right. We saw her
do it last night, right?
Anne Marie recently moving to Edmond, Oklahoma. She really finds the people around this area extremely friendly. A lot of
and the pins too.
Yes, a lot of good bowling. A lot of competition.
33-pin advantage for Anne Marie Duggan.
Excuse me, do you know what stock options are?
I wish I did.
When is a weak dollar good for business?
Good? I don't know.
The world of...
The Bud Light LPBT Spring Tour is brought to you by Bud Light. If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light. And by Brunswick, home of the winningest pro on tour, the Brunswick Rhino Pro. Stacy Rider, 33 pins behind, throws a turkey, yet still trails by 23 because Anne Marie Duggan doubles, and they both spared in the 7th.
Uh-oh, that one looked dangerous. Sent that far. Too far to the right, yes. You can really see the difference in the line she's playing. When the ball gets away from her, gets a little fast, opens up a little too much, the ball goes too far to the right. Here it's at the 1-2 board. It does not have time to make it back. It's the 1-2-8. Her pocket shots, I don't think the ball has gone any farther than around the 3 or 4 board for her break point. There, that ball's much better on line.
So the 33-pin edge that she once held has now dwindled to 20, as Stacy Rider had 3 strikes and then a spare
for 4, 5, 6, and 7. And now she's bowling in the 8th frame on the lane number 44.
Well, Stacy Rider is by far not out of this event right now. Could shoot a possible 225, start it right here, and she trips the 4-pin.
Now that looked a little high to me.
Yes, it was a little high. But when you've got the pins working like this, it's a wonderful feeling. The ball's coming in extremely high, head pin off the wall, trips the 4 and the 7. And another look at how the pins were flying. That was the head pin taking out that 4.
Well, that time it went high and she left it.
That went on the left side of the head pin, leaving the 3-pin.
I guess that's a Brooklyn 9 instead of a Brooklyn strike.
She really needed that one there in the 9th frame to set herself up for the 10th. She's bowling at a 190 pace. Anne Marie Duggan right now only needs to stay clean, basically marking in the 9th and 10th frame. And a familiar face out here on the women's tour, Bob Pike, Anne Marie's father. He's traveled with her throughout the spring, as Pat Dugan has been at home, starting a career in real estate. And her husband Pat is here, has been throughout the week also. Strike right here will lock it up for Anne Marie. And you can see there, look at the scoreboard. Stacy Rider, best possible game she could shoot would be 205. A spare and strike for Anne Marie Duggan. She shoots 215.
Come on, Karen.
Oh, my. Solid 9. Anne Marie must pick this up.
Needs this spare.
Must have this spare.
She's studying the scoreboard now. You know, we saw Stacy Rider miss an obvious spare, so it is possible she won't pick it off, but not likely.
There's the spare. Now she only needs 1 pin. Stay behind the line. And Stacy Rider at one point, I believe it was her first television appearance. She was bowling Lori Nichols. She needed a spare. She only needed 1 or 2 pins, and she got up and threw it in the channel. Oh. And I'm not trying to jinx Anne Marie. I was just telling a story on Stacy Rider. It can happen. Lori Nichols went on to win the match.
That's not a challenge. The exact opposite. So Anne Marie Duggan climbs the ladder. She's out of number 5. The worst she can do in this tournament is number 4. But she'd like to be number 3. She faces Sandra Jo Shiery in a minute. Rider wanted to wish her niece Summer Fields a happy birthday. Finishes 5th, not 4th. Anne Marie Duggan advances. The LPBT Spring Tour tip is brought to you by Ebonite International, where advanced technology has striking results.
Hi, I'm Alita Sill, a member of the Ebonite Pro staff. Today I'd like to talk to you about using tape in your thumb hole. A lot of times on the telecast you'll see the pros putting tape in and taking tape out. The reason for this is they want to keep a good feel on their bowling ball. They don't want to squeeze the ball, nor do they want to hang up in it. This is the reason that they use tape. A lot of amateurs that I meet throughout the country think that using tape means that your bowling ball is drilled wrong, and that's not necessarily true. Now, I don't mean that you need to have 15 pieces of tape in your ball, but 2 or 3 pieces is okay because that allows your hand to shrink or to swell. Now, the way I do this is I take a roll of adhesive tape, which I prefer, but they do have pre-cut tape on the market for your thumb holes. And what I do is I cut it a strip about the length of my thumb, and then I round the edges off, like so. And then I just stick it right by the first knuckle of my thumb. This enables me to keep a good feel on my ball, and if I don't like it, I'll just pull it out. So remember, get yourself some tape, a pair of scissors, and don't be afraid to use it.
Let's go now to Leila Wagner. She's with Randy Little of Showplace Lanes.
Thank you, Leandra. Randy, what does it entail to host a U.S. Open?
Well, it takes a lot of effort on a lot of different people in the area. We've had some great sponsors. The city of Garland has put on a tremendous show and welcomed the ladies here. We'd also like to thank our neighbor Bowling and Billiards Supplies of Dallas for their support. They've been in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for 35 years, serving the area proprietors and bowling centers. And we also have had a lot of other sponsors that have helped us tremendously. Turbo 2-in-1 grips, Robbie's Bowling Products, Walmart Photo Finishing, Coca-Cola in sponsoring our Pro-Am, which is a great success, Chandler Signs, and Sam's Town in Las Vegas, and the Hammer Bowling Balls.
Well, I know it was a great effort. You did a great job. Thank you.
Our next match features Sandra Jo Shiery against Anne Marie Duggan. Anne Marie's on a roll. Can't you keep it going? Sandra Jo has something to say about that. We'll be back.
Postage, limit of 5 per household. So get cracking. Call now to order.
We are back in Garland, Texas. Anne Marie Duggan has just defeated Stacy Rider, so now she faces Sandra Jo Shiery. Anne Marie will bowl first. She is number 5. Sandra Jo is number 3. This is our second match. And there you see how the lanes compare.
And lane 43 and lane 44 seem to be playing relatively even for Anne Marie, or she's figured them both out at this point. And the ball coming up light. She leaves the 2-pin. Now, she did not swing that one way out to the right. We may see the conditioner start carrying down a little bit. She may not have hit that ball as well. We'll have to see how the condition changes throughout the matches. I know Sandra Jo Shiery wants a rematch, has a rematch, wants revenge against Anne Marie Duggan. These two players met in '91 in the U.S. Open, but Anne Marie Duggan came out the victor. She defeated Sandra Jo 247 to 235. It was a wonderful match.
And now we see Sandra Jo for the first time. She's from Coldwater, Michigan. There you saw her average so far this year. She has yet to win a title in her career, though. She has 3.
And she is not on a good television match play streak right now. She has lost her last 4 television appearances, and it's not because she has bowled bad. It's just that her opponents had bowled extremely well. Jill Albert beat her not too long ago in New Orleans, a couple weeks to go to win her first event, 223 to 226. So that was another good game by Sandra Jo that
just wasn't good enough.
Just was not good enough.
Her last title came in 1991, the Athens Open. Her best finish here, 4th. That was in 1991. So she's already bettered that mark and opens things up the way she wanted to. 20 pins gone, thanks to Sandra Jo as Anne Marie steps up. 8 career titles for Anne Marie Duggan, 2 of them this year.
Really come into her own in the last 2 years. Last year, in the beginning of the year, she just started out beautifully, put a lot of pressure on herself towards the end of the year for those Player of the Year honors that I've learned by my mistakes. And hopefully this year will be a different turnaround. She's worked extremely hard on her mental game, on her physical approach to the game. She's a dedicated competitor.
It's the 3rd consecutive year she's qualified for the U.S. Open step-ladder finals. Both times. All 3 times now from the number 5 position.
And I know Anne Marie always wants me to say hi to her 2 stepchildren. She doesn't look old enough to be a mom.
Thought that was going to come.
Ball coming up light again. We saw her pick up the 2-4-10 in the first frame of the first match. Let's see if she can slide the 2-pin into the 10 again. So she's come up light both times now in lane 43. And it does not make the break. Lane is obviously, the conditioner's carrying down. She's going to need to move a little bit to the right. Try to create more of an angle into the pocket. Get the ball to react a little more in the back end. Sandra Jo already is working on 2 strikes.
That's good.
Really frozen roping the shot. Basically a completely different type of a game than Anne Marie Duggan. This is a low angle. Watch here. That ball just stays right on line, right between the second and third arrow. Not much belly, not much break, and just lands right in the pocket. Plus the velocity that Sandra Jo Shiery is throwing the ball at. It's bound to hold line if she gets it headed for the pocket. She leads by 32 pins.
For Sandra Jo Shiery, as you can see, she's got a 66-pin advantage, and she's continuing to strike. And while we were away, Anne Marie Duggan found her mark. Here she is on lane 44. Finds the pocket. Now she switches over to 43 and says, I figured this one out too.
Definitely tightened up her line there. You can see she's between the first and second arrow. The ball is not going outside the first arrow as what was happening when she was having problems. Sandra Jo Shiery, 7 in a row.
So she's crossed the halfway point as we look at number 7.
And that ball came up a little high, but she tripped the 4-7. Very calm, cool, and collective at this point in
For
time.
someone who's flirting with the 300, yes. I'm on the edge of my seat, and she's acting like it's a day at the office.
Sandra Jo Shiery has had one career sanctioned at 300 game. Sure, she's feeling it right now. But
oh, there it
right.
goes. There it goes. Oh.
We have to give her credit. The ball went right, and she didn't pull it high through the nose.
Oh.
And she just caught the head pin. Came up light, head pin up against the wall. Didn't make it back to get the 7. 2 pin topples over the 5. Hits the 8.
And a little more spin.
There goes the 4. Still standing. Converts the spare, though. Maintains her lead. Anne Marie Duggan right now is working on a double. Can shoot a possible 234. It appears she is now lined up, but Sandra Jo Shiery is leading by 65 pins.
That's a tough deficit at this stage of the game.
Oh, that one. Well, she tightened up the line. That ball hooked a little early on her.
Don't throw it that straight.
I don't throw it that straight.
You can hear what she's saying. I can throw it straight, but I can't throw it that straight. The difference in these two players, Sandra Jo Shiery playing a very straight and direct line. She does not hook the ball very much. Anne Marie Duggan trying to play a little bit more direct, not cross the boards to get to the pocket. It just didn't work. Right now.
The 8th frame is open, so she's at 140 in the 8th.
Well, right now, she can just shoot a possible 200. Sandra Jo Shiery already has that if she were to get 1 pin. No, I take that back, because she has that spare up in the 8. She has 209. So this match is virtually over.
So after 7 strikes and a spare in the 8th, Sandra Jo steps up.
She can shoot a possible 279. What a great game in quest for a U.S. Open title.
Fifth place is worth $4,000. That went to Stacy Rider. Fourth place will go to Anne Marie Duggan. That's worth $5,000. And Sandra Jo Shiery, well, she moves along. The worst she can do, $7,000. But she moves ahead, and she's going to face Dana Miller-Mackie. Stay with us here in Garland, Texas.
Don't miss the action on Prime Network.
The Bud Light LPBT Spring Tour is being brought to you by Fab-All Enterprises, maker of hammer bowling balls and the finest of bowling apparel, bags, and accessories. Visit your local pro shop with a complete line of hammer products. And by Ebonite International, where advanced technology has striking results. The final score, Sandra Jo Shiery, after 7 strikes, defeats Anne Marie Duggan, 259 to 179. The rest of the top qualifiers is being brought to you by the Hoinke Classic, an amateur bowling event for men and women, paying over $2 million each year for 10 consecutive years. For information on the Hoinke Classic, call 1-800-543-4010. Finishing number 6, Robin Romeo, 1989 U.S. Open champion.
And making a great charge last night, Diana TEETERS, her 7th year on the tour.
Jeannie Nacarado, 1986 Lin Shu Player of the Year.
And Carol Giannotti sporting a new hairdo, 1992 runner-up for Player of the Year.
I like her hair. Carol Norman is next. She shot 300 this week.
And you saw her win her first title just 2 weeks ago in New Orleans.
This is Kim Couture. She won her first career pro title last week in Alexandria.
The tour titleist, Carolyn Dorn.
Number 14, Wendy Papanos McPherson, youngest player to win the U.S. Open in 1986.
And Linda Urbanek, a former touring player, now running her own pro shop in Houston.
Number 16 is Jackie Sellers, 5th year on tour with 1 career pro title.
And Lori Nichols in 17th. She won the U.S. Open in 1972 as an amateur.
Then it's Nancy Fair, the highest qualifying amateur.
And in 19th, another left-hander, Sue Neidig, who won her first title last year in Hemet, California.
Eleanor Korzak, a senior at West Texas State.
And Marianne DeRupo, our 1992 Rookie of the Year.
Kathy Edwards, she's a rookie this year, finishes number 22.
And Sandy Postma from Lansing, Illinois in 23rd.
In the number 24 position, it's Debbie Renone, an Ohio Bowling Hall of Famer.
And our alternate this week, Linda Kelly, who won her first pro title last year in Alexandria.
Okay, we're going to step aside. When we come back, we will have more bowling as Sandra Jo Shiery climbs the ladder to face Dana Miller-Mackie, a righty against a southpaw. This is Dana Miller-Mackie here at the Showplace Lanes in Garland, Texas. I'm Leandra Riley along with Leila Wagner, and this is the 5th and final stop of the 93 Spring Tour. This is a major tournament. The Queens was already held earlier this year, Jan Schmidt winning that. This is the second leg of the Triple Crown, the U.S. Open. And Dana Miller-Mackie has won this event before. In fact, she's won it twice before. And if she wins this day, she'll be the first person to ever do so.
Good pocket hit. Coming up a little soft. Leaves a 7-pin. Both of these players using a 3-finger grip, using their index finger in the ball as well as their middle 2 fingers. Sandra Jo Shiery did this when she was very young, I think around the age of 12. Dana Miller-Mackie has just been doing it for a couple years now. She had lost the strength in her wrist and decided maybe she could get a better feel with the ball.
Have you ever tried that?
I have not tried it. It might help. I'm a small bone person, and trying maybe it would enable me to get a little more strength in my wrist.
I would think it would give you a little more control, especially on something like the spare ball, just because you have more fingers in there.
And lane breakdown there. Sandra Jo Shiery basically has both lanes figured out. Usually you do when you shoot 259 and open up with the first 7 strikes. Difference in averages on these pairs. Sandra Jo Shiery averaged 246. Dana Miller-Mackie only averaged 191. So it fared to the right-handers a little bit better throughout the week than it did for the left-handers. I have to see if that makes a difference today. And again, a look at that 3-finger grip. I don't know, as far as putting that extra finger, give you more control towards your spares. If we're constantly talking about throwing the ball straighter at your spares, a lot of people actually take a finger out when they bowl at their spares because they don't want the ball to hook as much.
Mm-hmm.
But adding that extra index finger does not allow the ball to hook more. I think it just gives it a little bit more support. As you can tell by Sandra Jo's style of bowling, she is not a big hooker on the tour. She gets a nice roll. It's perfect, right between the second and third arrow.
Well, we saw a lot of that in the last match. Dana Miller-Mackie, Fort Worth, Texas. This year she's already had 1 title. In her career, she's had 11.
She's currently ranking 7th in earnings and 4th in average. Well, she made up. She had the soft shot there on lane 43. That one coming up a little high on 44. She made the adjustment and tripped out the 6-pin. See there, I mentioned the average on the TV pair for Dana Miller-Mackie, 191. Dana's been on tour for 13 years. She's 36 years old. Started bowling at a very late age. She was 21 years old versus many players who start at the young age of 6, 7, 10, or 11, somewhere in those numbers. Dana Miller-Mackie comes from a big bowling family also.
Her brother's on tour on the PBA.
Her father's a member of the senior tour, and her mother used to be a member of the ladies tour. So it's very unusual for her to have started so late. I think she was busy in other sports.
It's funny, she really burned the place up in her first match, but a little different than how she was playing this week. Now she seems to have found her groove again in this, her second match.
And she now has 2 in a row, but she's...
That evens the score.
Evens the score up.
Both ladies with spare, strike, strike.
A member of the Coldwater Hall of Fame. She was inducted in 1988. No, Sandra Jo also did a lot of amateur competitions. In 87, she was an FIQ gold medalist in the team event and also in all events, which is an extremely hard thing to do, and a wonderful accomplishment for her to win that all events.
What went wrong here?
Oh, the ball coming up light. She said timing. She got fast, was not able to keep the ball on line. The ball got away from her. She sent it right. She does not hook the ball, so it did not come back. She does not have a sleeper. She has the 2-4-5. She'll go very direct at it. Switching balls to shoot her spare.
There's Steve Mackey, Dana Miller-Mackie's husband.
And Dana now from Fort Worth, Texas, and Steve relocating, works for AMF, and is now here in Fort Worth, Texas from Australia. The two met when Dana was part of a Coca-Cola Challenge Cup team that went over. There were 5 or 6 ladies that went over to Australia to compete against the Australians. And she met Steve, and I guess it was love at first sight, right?
I think it was love at first strike, I think is how it goes.
And you can see here, look at her reaction, her intensity. She was talking to it. Come on, kick out the 7. But as much body English as she used, 7-pin did not fall. Now she is trying to convert it. She switches balls also to shoot her spares.
Dana Miller-Mackie is 1/4 Oswego Indian. And in the programs, they took a picture of her in some native costume, and it was a very striking pose that her mother provided the attire that she wore. And it was quite striking.
Oh, yes, it was a beautiful picture.
Here's the score. Very, very close. Certainly nothing's resolved yet as she moves over to 43.
And you mentioned she is also a member of the Indian Sports Hall of Fame, in which she was inducted in that in 1982. So very proud of her Indian heritage. And another 7-pin. Dana Miller-Mackie's high game this week, 258, low game 162. So her spread was not quite as high as Sandra Jo Shiery's high game this week was also 258, but her low game was 136.
That's 3 sevens for Dana. I know that's good in craps, but not in bowling.
She's left them in different capacities. One, the ball not breaking up high enough. One, the ball a little flat.
The result's the same. Spare, spare, spare. Now Sandra Jo steps up. Still 1 pin is the difference between the two. This is the 5th frame for Sandra Jo. She has a spare, 2 strikes, and a spare.
Oh, really got away with that. She came up extremely high. Could have been disastrous, but she only left the 10-pin.
Okay, now how does this happen? We watched her in the last game. 7 strikes in a row. She seems to have these lanes licked. And then she's searching in this game.
Well,
Why?
That's bowling. You're getting closer to a championship, too. I can't see the lanes changing too much from where Sandra Jo is playing. It's a little bit, but she's already thrown 2 strikes. She's just not making good, clean, crisp shots, but she came out very determined that first game. She was firing the ball. The feel is a little different. It's very warm down there for the players. She's removing a piece of tape from her thumb hole. This all makes a big difference in how you release the ball. If she's not getting a good, clean release, she's not going to make a good, clean shot.
So we see her making an adjustment with the tape. Earlier we saw Alita Sill give us a tip on using tape. Throws have it in and out all the time. Found the groove there after 2 spares. She nails the strike. We're going to step aside. When we come back, we will continue with Sandra Jo Shiery and Dana Miller-Mackie. Away. Clears the deck with this shot on 44, and then crosses over and does the exact same thing coming in from the outside on 43. Now we're back to action with Sandra Jo Shiery, who picks up the spare. And now it's a 12-pin difference between Sandra Jo and Dana Miller-Mackie.
Sandra Jo really wanted this one, too. She would have still been only trailing by 2 pins. She hit the pocket solid. She left a 4-pin. This could be the turning point in the match right here. If this falls, like I said, she trails by 2. Doesn't go. Now she trails by 12.
We already saw her pick up the spare, and now she's crossed over to lane 43. This is her shot for the 8th frame.
And you can just look back and see how that is blanketed by 2 strikes.
Yes.
And you just go, oh, why couldn't that fall? Dana Miller-Mackie, on the other hand, did get the 7 pins out 2 times in a row. Caught the double in the 6th and 7th. Trying now to maintain her 12-pin lead, increase it by 22 with a strike right here. Dana has 3 sanctioned 300 games to her career.
See? Yes.
And she does.
It's the turkey, so Dana Miller-Mackie really turning up the heat on Sandra Jo Shiery, a match that has stayed so close. We're now starting to see some daylight break between them.
And the other 2 look just like this. She's talking to it. Break, break.
Yes, she's happy. There you can see in the scoreboard, they were so close in the early goings, just 2 pins separating them, and then that spare for Sandra Jo in the 7th started to make the difference.
These 2 players have never met in a television match before.
Wouldn't go.
Looking for the light wall shot, but does not get the 10 out. This is Dana Miller-Mackie's 39th television appearance as Sandra Jo's 16th. I have to remember, Sandra Jo's only been on tour for 5 years, whereas Dana Miller-Mackie's been on for 13.
21-pin advantage for Dana. She faces a lefty if she wins. Dede Davidson is waiting in the wings as the #1 seed.
Well, that's fair right there. We tightened everything right up because Sandra Jo Shiery right now is striking the ninth, 3 strikes in the 10th. She could shoot a possible 236. Dana Miller-Mackie could then step up, throw 3 strikes for 237.
This one's far from over.
A great semifinal match for the U.S. Open title.
Of course, Dana Miller-Mackie is hoping to become the first person to win a 3rd title. And Sandra Jo is really putting the pressure on, not giving up anything.
And look at the score.
There it is.
3 strikes right now. Basically, the match, she trails by 11. Whatever she does in the 10th, she's going to force Dana Miller-Mackie to do. And this is how it should be for a major title. Dana does not look at her opponent.
3rd place is worth $7,000. 2nd place, $9,000. 1st place, $18,000.
Oh, boy. And then Sandra Jo coming back saying, good shot, good shot. It did not look that bad. Many times the 8-10, you think the ball just hit flat. The 5-pin normally takes out the 8. In this case, it did not. It flew in front of the 8. You're going to get to see another look at it. Watch that 5-pin just flew right in front of the 8. And there sends the 10. What a bad break for Sandra Jo Shiery to open up and leave an 8-10. She takes one of the pins. She shoots 202. Right now, Dana Miller-Mackie only needs 5 pins. Much better game that Sandra Jo bowled than what her score reflected.
She re-racked.
And she re-racked. We make sure all pins are on spot. She needs 5 pins. That 4-pin in the 7th for Sandra Jo, the 8-10 in the 10th made all the difference.
Whoa. But that's all she needed. It was not the resounding way I'm sure she wanted to go out, but it was certainly enough. Dana Miller-Mackie defeats Sandra Jo Shiery.
1-800-872-4200 for your free brochure. That's 1-800-872-4200. 1-800-872-4200. Call now.
This U.S. Open recap is brought to you by Faball Enterprises, maker of hammer bowling balls and the finest of bowling apparel, bags, and accessories. Visit your local pro shop for the complete line of hammer products. In the first match, Anne Marie Duggan over Stacy Rider, 215 to 192. Then Sandra Jo Shiery, 7 strikes in a row to handle Anne Marie Duggan, 259 to 179. And then in the 3rd match, it was neck and neck. Let's go right to the 10th frame.
Sandra Jo Shiery winning all 3 strikes in the 10th to force Dana Miller-Mackie to throw 3 to beat her. Sandra Jo gets up. This is the first shot in the 10th frame. She really rotated this ball nice. Watch the 5-pin. Rips right in front of the 8-pin. What a bad break for Sandra Jo.
And that resulted in Sandra Jo Shiery losing. Final score, Dana Miller-Mackie 214, Sandra Jo 202. Now let's go down to Leila Wagner, who's with a special guest.
I'm here with John LASPINA, the president of the Bowling Proprietors Association of America. John, what is the role for the BPAA in the industry today, and also their role in the Women's U.S. Open?
Well, first of all, we're the National Trade Association for bowling proprietors, people who own and operate bowling centers across America. Our role is to enhance opportunities for business people in the bowling setting. We have 3,200 members across the country, state and local affiliates all through the country, and we want America to bowl. Simple as that.
And their role in women's bowling?
Oh, and our role here today, we're the sponsor, the national sponsor of the BPAA U.S. Open. We're glad to be here. Half of our customers are women. They're wonderful, and this is a true competitive event with the best of the best.
All right. Thank you, John.
And speaking of wonderful women, we've got a wonderful match ahead of you between Dede Davidson and Dana Miller-Mackie, #1 against #2 for the U.S. Open title. Welcome back to Garland, Texas for our fourth and final match. $18,000 on the line. Dede Davidson of San Jose, California against Dana Miller-Mackie of Fort Worth, Texas. And Dede Davidson will be up first, searching for her first title of '93, her fourth title of her career.
Dede Davidson is on a championship match streak of losing 2. Oh. And not a good way to open up. The ball hooking up extremely sharp. Goes through the nose of the pins. She'd like to erase those past 2 losses, which came in October and March of '92. She has never met Dana Miller-Mackie for a title.
Oh.
And not something you want to do in the opening frame, missing a spare. She chopped the 2-8 right off. Great opening here for Dana Miller-Mackie, a little confidence booster.
Now, she lost to Dede Davidson 227 to 216 earlier in match play. They both softly sets them down.
Actually, they bowled twice in match play. They bowled the one time in match play, then again in a position round,
right.
and both times
she lost. Yeah.
She lost, right.
247, 210 in the position round.
Dana Miller-Mackie opening up with a strike. Again, like I mentioned in the opening, you might as well give her the title as from the number 2 seed here. History repeats itself.
It'd be history in the making because she'd be the first one to win 3.
Not only does she have the 2 U.S. Open titles from the number 2 seed, she has 2 other titles. The Lady Fairlanes Open in 1991, plus the Torrance Survival format that the ladies had in 1991 in Torrance, California. They always talk about the number 2 seed being the best position because you get 1 game under your belt, then you're going in against the championship, or into the championship match, versus the top seed having to come in after sitting on the sidelines for so long. Now she does get practice balls, but she's only allowed 6 on the on the championship pair. Dede taking a re-rack on lane 44. Now Dana took a re-rack on lane 44
earlier, right?
Last game in the 10th frame. Apparently they are not seeing the pins to be on spot.
That was something you may have suspected went wrong with Sandra Jo Shiery's shot in the 10th frame. You felt she had enough rotation, but maybe the pins weren't quite on spot.
It's possible. That 5-pin just blew right in front of the 8. Normally if you hit flat and you didn't rotate it enough, the 5-pin just falls down. See if Dede's going to start talking to herself any time now after she came up high now 2 times in a row. 4, 6, 10. She'll just go for 2 pins. We saw Stacy Rider get something going after she opened up with the first 3 frames. She turned that into a very close match.
Second time we've seen her leave an open frame. Now let's take a look at some of the names you might be watching for as we look at the rest of the finishers here at the U.S. Open. And now we're back with Dede Davidson in the 3rd frame.
And we saw a look at the 60 top cashers. The total field this week, 196 ladies competed in the U.S. Open.
A small crowd.
A small crowd. 60 people competed, or 60 people cashed. got a check. And a beautiful bowling center it was, Showplace Lanes in Garland. I'm very fond of this bowling center. Shot 300 here a couple years ago when the
sentimental
LPBT
favorite
came here. I was sorry I was not able to compete in the U.S. Open this year, but had some family commitments. Right now, Dana Miller-Mackie stepping up on 44. She struck in her opening frame. She then turned around on lane 43, came up high, left the 610. Trying to put something together, trying to become the only person, man or woman, to ever win a U.S. Open 3 times.
23 pin edge and opens it up on 44.
Oh, getting a big break there, too, as she tripped out the 7 pin at the last minute. Almost left herself with a 6-7 split. Pretty routine spare conversion here. She'll cross lane and shoot the 6 pin. This is a big match. You know, we can see whether the lanes are actually changing or the fact that this is for a major. This is for $18,000.
You know, we mentioned that Dana would be the only person to win 3. There's only been 4 women to win twice. Paula Carter did it in 71 and 75. Pat Costello won the U.S. Open in 74 and 80. Donna Adamick, 78 and 81. And then Dana Miller-Mackie in 1983 and 1990. And what's at stake besides the prestige and the honor of a major? Big bucks. $18,000 for first, $9,000 for second. That's a big difference.
And the beautiful trophy. Catching the light hit, mixing the pin. Dana is not suffering from an ailment to her right leg, as we're going to get another look at this shot. Watch the head pin go up against the wall. She carries the mixer. She wears this brace on her right leg now for preventative measures. She says at one time it was hurting. I put on, and now I just don't want it to start hurting, especially again with a long format. The aches and pains start to show up this week if they've not shown up before.
Dede Davidson had an open frame in the first, the second, a spare in the third, and it appears she has found the groove. She strikes in the fourth on lane 44.
And she has been coming up a little too high. She made the adjustment, the head pin up against the wall, another mixer, as we saw Dana Miller-Mackie do. She's saying, hook, hook, come on. Yes. Really wanting a double here, as she can cut Dana Miller-Mackie's lead to only 11 or 12.
Left the 2, 4, 7, and 8 in the first frame. Left the 4, 6, and 10 in the second. Picked up the 10th in the third. Nine years on tour.
One major. The 1991 WIBC Queens event in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where she defeated Jeannie Maiden.
Oh, ball again!
Big break as she trips the 6 pin at the last minute.
Whoa, what a delayed reaction that was.
Watch the head pin up against the wall. Actually, it was the 10 pin that hit the 6.
Spun around, yeah.
6 pin wobbles and wobbles and can't decide if it's going over. The leaning tower.
Yes, she's happy. So it's 2 strikes for Dede Davidson. Dana Miller-Mackie is working on a strike from the 4th.
Leading by 12. This lady wants a strike here to increase it by 22.
It's spinning, but will not touch.
It almost appears that the velocity that Dana is throwing has softened up a little bit. The intensity is not quite there as it was last game. You get a little bit tentative now. You're in the championship match.
That, or do you think she let her guard down when Dede left 2 open frames to open things up? Do you think that might...
Well, the intensity of the whole match could have dropped a little bit. The adrenaline, you start pumping yourself up. Sometimes the adrenaline definitely works in your favor.
Strike, 2 spares, strike, 1 spare.
A 3-time WIBC All-American, a 3-time Bowler's Journal All-American. Another player like Anne Marie Duggan has really felt that her game is, that she is at her prime right now, is Dana Miller-Mackie. Worked extremely hard, both mental and physical game.
Oh.
Another light hit.
And a friendly fall.
Trips out the 6 and the 9. Mixes them up, turns back, is getting a little consultation there from most likely Dad. He's her coach when he's out on tour. There's many times that she has to do it alone when her dad's not here, but it's always nice. And there's Dad Gary.
The man in the
Miller.
tie is Pat Burns, coordinator of sports marketing for Anheuser-Busch. And right behind him,
in the blue shirt. Come on! Oh, no running him out. She's not quite understanding her ball reaction now. She came up high a couple times. I think she really thought that one was going to make it back. But now we talked about velocity. Dana Miller-Mackie, seeming that she's thrown a little slow. Dede could have really just zipped that one.
Yeah.
5, 3, 5, 6. When I reverse the pins, looking at them from a left-hander aspect, sometimes I get confused.
It's still not a walk away for Dana Miller-Mackie. We have a lot of frames left and only 15 pins the difference, so anything could really happen as we reach the halfway point. Strike, strike, spare, the last 3 shots for Dede Davidson.
You can just feel the intensity in the crowd.
Mm-hmm. Starting to get a little tight now.
Mm-hmm. Players work all year to compete well in the U.S. Open. Nice pocket shot. 4-pin just lays in the channel. Dede was real sorry that her mom and dad could not make it in from California to be able to see her on the telecast. They're here so often. So many times she's made the telecast. They've been able to come and watch her bowl, but they were not able to this year. She also wanted to say hi to Grandma and Grandpa. Sorry they couldn't be here. They're my biggest fans. She says spares are nice, but we need strikes. And yes, right now she needs strikes because she's trailing this lady that is about to set up by 16 pins. And we had one of the signs fall off the ball return, but it has now been removed.
So Dana Miller-Mackie of Fort Worth, Texas, 13th year on the tour, looking for her 3rd U.S. Open title, a history precedent event.
Hear the crowd yell "Carry" as she comes up light again. I've seen a little bit of a trend here. They've gone from high, light, high, light. Neither player is really locked into the pocket. Even their pocket shots or the strikes they have had have been the light wall shots.
Mm-hmm. And here we are already in the 7th frame and still searching.
How time flies. Well, both of these players, as I mentioned, were on a losing streak as Dana Miller-Mackie has lost her last 3 championship match appearances for the title. Dede Davidson has lost her last 2. So maybe it's whoever wants this one can get up and take it. Right now, another look at the scoreboard. Dana Miller-Mackie leading by 16. Not too many
strikes. A strike in the 6th, yeah, and one back in the 4th, but it's been slim pickings for both.
Another player who's averaged very well, actually, on this television pair, Dede Davidson averaged 236 versus Dana Miller-Mackie averaging 191. Yep, she turned things around there by that shot. Perfect pocket hit. And Dede's going to opt to take her second re-rack of the game. Now, if she would want any more, she would have to consult with Tom Schmick and see if it was then honored. Dede Davidson has only qualified in one other U.S. Open, and that was in the 1990 U.S. Open in Dearborn Heights, Michigan. She was in the 5th position. She lost her first match to Alida Sill, 191 to 180.
6 times she's finished in the money. 6 times in the top 24.
Her highest 1993 finish came at the New Generations Classic in Yuba City, California, which was 8th. So she's really not had a wonderful year. She's been in 10 tournaments this year. She has only made 6 of the top 24. So she's been hitting and missing all year. But if you're going to put it all together, you want to do it right here in the U.S. Open.
Right now.
And right now, because she is trailing still by 16. She needs a strike here in the 9th. She'll cut it to 6 and set herself up for the 10th. You always talk about that 9th frame being your setup frame. Well, that's what it comes down to for Dede Davidson right now.
Yes, she's happy.
Watch the ball hit the pins here, carrying that light shot again. Just splashes the pins all along the deck. And Dede Davidson, yes, she knows that that was the key shot right there of the match for her to have any chance of winning this title.
Now, for the second time in this match, we've seen her put 2 strikes together. Let's see how Dana Miller-Mackie responds.
Well, it's actually all in Dana's hands. She could get up, close out the match, take the title, shoot 229. She's holding it all in her own hands.
Strike in the 8th. Let's see what she does here.
Ooh. See, she could have stepped up the 9th and 10th frame and just taken everything away, but not yet. Needs to spare here.
I'd like to see a blood pressure cuff on both these ladies right about now. Boom, 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 boom.
Well, she cannot shut out Dede Davidson at this point now. She can only shoot 209. Dede Davidson can shoot a possible 213. So Dede Davidson has definitely bounced back after not ever having the lead in this match. She has trailed since the very first frame. All right, 10th frame. Dana Miller-Mackie strikes out for 209. Forces Dede Davidson to get 2 strikes in the 10th. And 6 pins.
Let's see if she can strike out. And no one in this match has really put anything together. We've seen a 2-strike string, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm. And pin count also. Now, Dana's the ball coming up extremely light. She leaves 4 pins on the right side. Really needs to convert this spare right here, or she's basically going to hand this title over to Dede. Needs them all.
Got them.
Pin count, very critical. A strike here, she shoots 195. Dede Davidson is going to have to get the first strike in the 10th frame. If Dana can throw a 9 or better right now.
Yep. Oh, 9. So it's 194 for Dana Miller-Mackie.
Okay, it comes down to this. We've seen 3 matches. This is for The U.S. Open crown. She's used her too. She's
Now
consulting with Tom Schmick.
And they're looking at it.
He allows the re-rack. She's taking it. She must strike.
And she's coming off of 2 strikes.
And she has one major title. The 1991 WIBC Queens. This would be the second leg of that Triple Crown.
What a comeback this would be if Dede can pull this off. 2 open frames to start this match. A collection of strikes and spares throughout.
This comes down to a $9,000 ball right here.
Isn't that the truth?
Must have it.
Happens. Gotta have it, gotta have it. And gets it! A delayed drop by the 10. And a much-needed strike. Whoa.
I like the reaction by Dede. Watch this. She really revs it up. Hits the head pin. Beautiful shot. 5-pin just swishes into the 10. Knocks it
Snapped over
She's
there.
talking to it. Come on, come on.
Come on, come on, come on.
And it's a
Do it,
double
do it.
jump.
Yes.
Well, she had to have that. Now it's up to pin count. She only needs 1 pin.
That's hard to do. And strikes it.
And after leading this field by almost 300 pins, the top seed, were they jinxed? I guess not. As Dede Davidson becomes the 3rd top seed in the 13 years to win the U.S. Open.
Kissing the ball.
I'd be kissing the ball, too.
Hey, gets it. Congratulations, Dede Davidson. The 2 lefties battle it. Davidson prevails, winning the 1993 U.S. Open. We'll be back with a recap.
10163.
The Bud Light LPBT Spring Tour has been brought to you by Bud Light. If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light. And by Brunswick, home of the winningest pro on tour, the Brunswick Rhino Pro. .213, 194, the final. A happy lady, and well she should be. There you see the final number. She put up the strikes when she needed them most, striking out to defeat Dana Miller-Mackie, 213, 194, Dede Davidson, our champion. And now she's got a lot of things to collect, and we begin first with Eric Nelson, who has the coveted jacket. And he is the owner and proprietor here, and he's going to put that on Dede Davidson. And this is the traditional symbol of the winner of the U.S. Open. And the green jacket fits quite nicely. Next, we are going to move in Bill Blue. He is the CEO of the BPAA, and he has the trophy for Dede Davidson. A beautiful eagle. And now I'll step in here, and here are the words you want to hear so well.
Dede, you could take us all bowling tonight. On behalf of the 3,200 members of the Bowling Proprietors Association of America, a little token for your victory, $18,000. Good luck, Dede.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I have a few words I'd like to say, if I may. The crowd here this week, it was just incredible. I feel like I'm at home bowling a regional, and y'all made me feel very relaxed, and BPAA ran it smoothly, and I couldn't have asked for a better place to do it than Showplace Lanes. Thank you.
All right, but we're not finished with our presentations. Not finished. We've got more for you, Dede. And I have Bob Calabro, a district manager for Anheuser-Busch, and he has the Bud Light trophy for you.
Yes. Dede, congratulations on behalf of Anheuser-Busch at the Bud Light brand, proud sponsors of the Lady Pro Bowlers Tour. We present you with this trophy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very nice. Oh, God, I hope I don't drop this one.
All right, her hands are full. We're going to step aside. When we come back, we'll have some thoughts from our Dede Davidson, winner of 1993's U.S. Open. Stay with us.
Postage. Call now to order. To keep your jewelry in precious metalware tarnish-free and sparkling, order Quicksilver now.
Dede Davidson winning her second major of her career. Leila?
Obviously, you knew it was coming down to one shot.
Yeah, I did. I just kind of tried to focus on him as I was bowling match play, and I was nervous as heck. I really was, and I'm just glad I got it off my hand. And all the girls bowled great this week. Really,
A great job, Dede. Congratulations to you, and have fun spending that big paycheck. Our 1993 U.S. Open winner, Dede Davidson. For Leila Wagner, I'm Leandra Riley. So long, everyone, from Garland, Texas. And this has been a presentation of Bud Sports in association with Prime Network.